So yeah, Dr. Pierre here. Welcome to another episode of Medicine Monday. So we have been talking about AI replacing a doctor. We've been talking about the importance of what AI is going to be in our research. And I had to kind of summarize almost like this trilogy of episodes because the question, or really the statement we have to say is health technology, I believe, is going to be one of the biggest disruptors in the next probably decade. When we think about let's say what the internet did, right? Like being able to just access online stuff, right? When we think about, what, self-driving cars may do, right? Like, as I record this, I think Tesla had released like I forget where, I think it's either Texas or California. Like there are innovations that are coming that are going to affect entire industries. I think when it comes to health and technology, in regards to just the way medicine has been practiced, the way we as a patient and as a provider of medicine has practiced is going to fundamentally change, and that's why I wanted to start having that conversation, right? When we had Adam on the show, Adam Walker on the show, and I'll definitely put the link in the show notes for his episode, just getting an insight on what the tech folks, those who do the research, are thinking of what AI can do was extremely interesting. I highly suggest you check that episode out. So then when I asked the question, like, hey, is AI going to replace your doctor? There's some people who are like, no, never, no. And there's some people like, I don't know. Right? There's some people who weren't really ready to say 100% AI is not going to replace your doctor, right? And that's the reality that we're in. And like, these are just some numbers, right? Y'all know me. I love numbers. By the year 2030, the global digital health market is projected to hit 660 billion. 660 billion with a B. That is twice than what it is right now. 660 billion is going to be spent, and that's in regards to AI powered diagnostics, virtual checkups, technology that we don't even know that they're working on right now that's going to shake up our whole industry. That's coming. So we have to understand when we're having these conversations about like, hey, like what is medicine going to do? More importantly, what is this marriage of medicine and health related technology? We, especially as physicians, and I tell my physicians, my nurse, all of my workers on this side, if you think you are too smart to be replaced with AI, you're already in trouble. And we kind of have to learn about these things right now, right? And I'm not even like, imagine, right? Like when we think about blockchain technology, I know a lot of people when they hear blockchain, they think about like cryptocurrency, but just the aspect of having blockchain technology, the aspect of being able, like, let's get a quick scenario. We'll talk a little bit more during the show. Imagine, being able to be seen in, the state of Washington. And then, for some reason you have a trip, you got to go down to Florida, right? Across the country. And I'm able, using blockchain technology, to be able to pull up all of the records, the tests, everything that they did in the state of Washington in a blink of an eye. That is going to come. I don't know which company is working on it, but that is going to come, right? Because that just makes sense. Because right now, if you get a procedure or a test or anything done in Washington, unless you bring those results to you with Florida, we're not going to know it. And the process, just to give you an idea before we get the show popping, the process of even getting to your records, I got to call medical records. I got to call in between 8 to 5. They have to confirm. They likely will have to send you a form to give me permission. You got to sign it. You got to fax it back. And then they got to fax me the records, right? It's not even an email. They got to fax me the records. So we are living in prehistoric time right now in various parts of medicine that I don't know if they don't know about to be bulldozed over. So let's talk today about why I think health technology is going to be our biggest disruption in regards to medicine. All right, so let's give a scenario, and I kind of hinted at it in the intro segment of kind of what's going on, what's wrong, what's the problems that we got going on right now, right? So for surgery and medicine, right, 30% of healthcare spending goes towards administrative waste. So I'm not talking about the surgery. I'm not talking about the medications. No, just paperwork related things. Out of $1 trillion is spent on that aspect alone. That's a problem, right? Like if we're concerned about saving so much money, like we got to look at what's causing some waste, right? So in medicine, if I know that 30% of medical dollars, right, which again, we're going to say about $1 trillion is wasted in the paperwork aspect of it, yeah, we have a problem. Yeah, we have a problem. We got to do something about said problem. That doesn't even skip over the fact that a lot of this paperwork is still confusing. A lot of your patients still don't feel like they have enough time to talk to their doctors. There's long wait lines in the ER. There's long wait lines in your own regular doctor's office. There's long wait lines everywhere to get into a facility, a skilled nursing facility, an ALF or rehab. There's wait. There's waste everywhere. And if you don't think that there are people in the background trying to figure out innovative ways to get rid of that waste, I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I could probably sell you, right? So understand that we have some problems in medicine right now. You know, Adam Walker had talked about this aspect when we were talking about the research component on getting people to just do research, getting enough numbers with the research, being able to use the data when we get from the research and use it more effectively, right? Like when I tell you that there are so many hurdles that are in the way of progress in regards to making sure you are well taken care of, right? I had to put my glasses on for this show, y'all. For those who are catching the YouTube show, right? My podcast listeners, if you don't know, I typically don't wear my glasses. I had to get myself right? Because I had to make sure folks understood that when we think about where medicine is going, if you don't think that AI and technology is going right along with it, if in fact, not only going along right with it, but will probably be leading a lot of the industry forward, yeah, you got another thing coming. So understand that when you have a patient, right? I love this example, right? We kind of mentioned in the intro. You have a patient who goes from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, does test after test, lab work after lab work. Nobody knows which test you did over here. Nobody gets the results yet. Oh, everyone's waiting for results to come in. And you're, right, just sitting in the office trying to hope that your primary care doctor office can pull up the labs or get the record request done in time while you're in for a 15-minute appointment. That's never really a 15-minute appointment. It's more like a 10 and a half, 11 at best before like they're trying to kick you out the door, right? If you don't think that we're going to have some technology that's bound to help like stir the ship, yeah, we are, especially as physicians, are in for a rude awakening if we continue to ignore it. So I want to talk about just I just want to talk about one technological advance that you may not even think very much of, but was such a significant turning point. When I was a resident, so I went to residency from 2011 to 2014. When I was a resident, hospitals were beginning to phase out paper charts. And you may be saying, Dr. Pierre, hold on. What do you mean? Like, yes, like when I was going to be a resident, you still had hospitals who were documenting, writing their notes in a paper chart. And the fight, when I tell you the fight that these older physicians used to put up, when they're like, hey, we're transitioning away from, paper charts, everything's going electronic for lots of different reasons. The big one is financial, because billing is a lot easier when you're dealing with a electronic chart than a paper chart. But again, neither here or there. I'll take my capitalist hat off. So when you think about a transition from just moving from paper charts to electronic charts and how much fight was going on for that to happen, even though now there are physicians who have never seen a paper chart. Like they don't even hold on, a paper chart. In fact, like I remember where I practiced during residency. I remember during residency, there was like this health information leak that occurred, some type of phishing issue that occurred that forced us to not have electronic medical records for like almost like 3 weeks. And you know what we had to do? We had to go back to writing paper. And when I tell you it was the funniest sight, in fact, I wasn't a resident. I was the program director. So it was at my other hospital when I was the program director. To see my residents be utterly confused that they have to use a paper chart to write a note. Like, all right, so I write the note and then where do I put it? Like, yeah, you put it back and forth. All right, so how does someone read it? Like, they just couldn't process it, or vice versa. When they needed to see if one of the other specialists saw the patient, like they would have to find the chart, if they found the chart, right? Which is always an adventure. They'd have to find the chart. They'd have to flip through. Hopefully they can read the handwriting of that physician, right? Like, it's so many things that we take for granted that we didn't realize we needed until technology hit us across the face. And I say this all the time, especially in medicine, we are typically one of the last industries that I don't want to say accepts technology, but realizes just how good technology is, right? Like all these other industries, hotel, finance, banking, they're all gung-ho when it comes to technology. But when it comes to medicine, like we're like the last of the Mohicans of trying to figure out all right, yes, we need it. And all right, let's see how we can do it, right? But like I said, when I was a resident, you had those doctors absolutely arguing and fighting for the fact that they did not want to have to learn how to start typing to put medical records on our electronic version, right? So understand that the process and the turning point that's going to occur is not going to be it's not going to be a smooth ride. It's going to be very bumpy. There's going to be a lot of twist and turn, but I think the importance of knowing that it's coming is extremely important, because if you know it's coming, then you can have an idea that yes, I'm gonna have some growing pains with it, but at least I can deal with said growing pains. All right, so let's kind of fast forward kind of where we're at right now, right? Because obviously electronic medical records, it's here to stay, not going nowhere. It's going to get better, but that was a significant shift. Let's think about some things that even that we do now, that we practice now, that has really had fundamental shifts for us, but I think are going to be baby in comparison to like when AI is doing what AI is doing and blockchain is doing what blockchain is doing. Let's think about telehealth. Like there was a time where your insurance companies wouldn't even allow you to have what we call a virtual visit, because and I've talked about the pros and cons of virtual visits versus physical visits. Some people like to get outside, like to get around, like to have a reason to be out the house, right? But others, right, find it very, very restrictive to have to leave their work, their office, their school, wherever, just to go to a doctor's appointment that may last 5 to 10 minutes. So when we had the pandemic, one thing the insurance companies suddenly realized, like, hey, you know what? We probably should allow doctors to see their patients, especially if the patients are okay with it, virtually. So telehealth visits are an extreme benefit to patients who can't get there, who have travel-related issues, work-related issues. Because again, if I got to go to my doctor's appointment, I may have to take some PTO time. I got to take, so I'm losing money for a 10-minute session when I could just say, hey guys, I'm about to go to my doctor's appointment for about 20 minutes. I'll be in the cubby hole somewhere, and then I'll come back, right? So telehealth visits, we talk about the remote monitoring when it comes to for my diabetic patients. Because before, my diabetic patients used to always have to stick themselves every 6 to 8 hours just to check their blood sugar. Now, right, boom, they pop on that sensor, right, and they have a sensor that's continuously monitoring blood sugar all the time. Guess what? The sensor is so good, right, and the data is so good. Now they can upload it to the cloud, and now their doctor can pick up how well their blood sugars are doing based on the time of the day and what they're eating, right? So again, these are just small movements, but I think the most important one, and I think the big one that's going to really ruffle some feathers, is when AI really comes knocking at the door and starts replacing some of y'all. And I know it sounds bad. I know it's like, no, that's never going to happen. Again, when I listen to Adam, definitely tell you guys, you should definitely check that episode out. Again, it will be in the show notes. When I listen to Adam, right, he's pretty convinced, and I'm low-key convinced too, that there's going to be quite a few jobs that are not going to be needed. And I'm not saying completely. I'm not saying that whole specialties are going to be wiped out. I'm just saying that we may not need as many, because I have this AI technology that can, do the work, like 20 of y'all. Again, I'm just exaggerating, but that's the shift that I'm worried about. That's the shift that I'm concerned about, because I don't think a lot of my colleagues are ready for that shift, right? Just like when we went from paper charts to electronic charts, there are colleagues who weren't ready for that shift. And when we get to the point where AI is what AI is doing, and maybe block technology is doing what block technology is doing, I think that's going to be a significant shift that's going to ruffle a lot of people feathers, going to get a lot of people upset, unless they, follow me and they understand that, hey, Dr. Pierre told you this is coming, and he told you that you should likely be prepared for it. Maybe we have an episode, drop it in the comments if you want, especially my healthcare providers, if you want an episode on how you should prepare for AI to come into our industry, right? Let me know if you want to hear that, and I'll get a special guest to come on here to talk about that too. So understand that we've got some ways that technology shifts help us and cause little shifts, and we have some ways where technology shifts are going to really really, really help us, but more importantly, help you. More importantly, help the patient. Okay, I'm a patient too, right? I'm a doctor, but I'm also a patient, right? Like I turn my hat off, right? When it's so funny because when I have to go to the doctor, let's say if I go to the doctor's appointment, me and my wife need to go to the doctor's appointment. My colleagues, usually my doctors know now, but like she won't tell them, right? I'm a doctor, right? And I won't tell them I'm a doctor, right? Because I want you to just be able to do all you want to do without having this nervousness of like, oh, guy, all right, this guy's a doctor. Let me make sure I put the stethoscope in the right place, because it's a funny thing when they know you're a doctor, right? Because they for some reason tense up, which typically means that they kind of slack when it's a non-doctor, but different conversation. But understand, like, yeah, with the shift that's coming, I want all parties to be involved, patients as well as providers. All right, and to wrap it up, man, I just, some parting thoughts. Understand, just like we talked about in our prior AI related episodes, that, this technology is not a fad. This is something that's ingrained into our life. So of course it's going to be ingrained to the way we practice medicine and the way we kind of do medicine. It's here. Yes, there's going to be some concerns. There's going to be some hiccups. Privacy, I think, is going to be a big one, right? Especially with this technology having a lot of information. Like I said, like imagine a scenario where you're in Washington, someone goes to Florida and we can get that information. That's a lot of information that's readily available. We got to make sure the right people are accessing that information, right? Because we don't want the wrong person accessing that information just because it happens to be on a blockchain, right? So yeah, there's some work that still needs to be done. I'm not gonna act like by next year it's going down. It's not, right? That's why I give myself a good 5, 10, 15 year horizon. I'm still gonna likely be in medicine, at least 5 years, maybe 10. But for my colleagues who are behind me, who will definitely be in medicine, definitely understand that you guys will have to adjust to the shift. Just like when I was coming into medicine as a resident physician, the colleagues ahead of me had to adjust to the shift of like, oh my God, there's no more paper charts. Oh, everything's electronic. Like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, look, everything's online. Like, oh my, where's your Harrison's book and your pocket medicine? No, everything's on your phone. Like there were shifts that always had to occur. They always ended up being for the better, especially for those who are ready and were ready and willing to adjust with them. I hope you guys have a great little foundation of where technology is coming to play within our field. I think it's going to be great. And I think I'm very excited for the future of what's to come as far as healthcare and technology and the disruption that is likely going to cause.